So hello again. I'm going to teach you this time how to generate a character for Chronicles of the Outland. The music that you're hearing in the background is Data Becker, royalty free, and I'm using Epic Table as my virtual tabletop. Now normally with my character sheet I would just have a paper character sheet and you just fill this out with pencil, but in order for me to make a video of it I need to go virtual, and when I play online I play virtual. So to generate a character, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to decide what trait we are. Now there are 6 traits in the game. There's bold, clever, energetic, etc. And the players will pick one. Now for each of these traits, they're not like D&D stats. You're not going to roll your 3 dice and then have a certain degree of bold, a certain degree of energetic. You either are or are not bold. You are or are not rugged. I'm going to pick bold just for the sake of the argument, and then I'm going to roll 1 die. And I rolled 2. Not really a lucky roll, but there's really no bad or good rolls in the game, especially for starting characters. They're all pretty balanced. And in this case, I can read the fact that I'm bold, and I also picked up energetic in one other trait. So I would pick, for instance, I would pick that I'm bold and energetic, and then I also will be rugged. And again, there's no degree. I'm not. I just happen to be better than the normal with bold. Bold will allow me to have only 1 round of shaken, which is very nice. Energetic allows me to have the Fury Pip, a bonus to the dice roll in combat. And rugged will allow me to take, instead of 2 wounds, it'll allow me a 3rd wound before I'm actually dead. The first wound I receive as rugged is ignored. If I was clever, I would have the ability to ignore 1 bad event in the game. If I was gifted, I would magic would affect me less as when it's less than successful. And if I'm methodical, I could ignore the enemy's defensive modifier in 1 battle. These are all very important as you try to battle bigger and bigger monsters in the games. But now that I have my traits, I can go back to my rule set here, and I can generate my skills. I'll go right back to the table of contents, since it seems like it's a good way to scroll around, and I'm going to go right to the initial skills. And with the initial skills, I got a table here. Once again, I'm going to roll a d8. And I rolled a 6, a little bit better roll this time, huh? 3 skills in background, 2 skills outside of background, and character still must have the designated trait, and additionally speak 2 languages. So what are we talking about that? 3 in background, 2 outside of background. So I might decide that my bold character is also a briber. If I have that purse of coins, it's going to come in handy. I'll be able to convince constables or other nobles. And I always like to be a duelist. It's very nice to have that ability to work a sword in the game and work it well. And I'll pick equestrian. So those are my 3 skills within my background of bold, my nobility here. And then I got 2 other skills that I can take. Well, maybe I'll be a bowman, or maybe I'll be a berserker and the tormentor, man-at-arms. But I'm going to stick to my old standbys. I'm going to be a brawler, and I'm going to be a houndsman. I'll let the dogs do all the work. So I've picked my starting skills. There's also a couple of languages that I received. The game typically is taking place in the Byzantine Empire, where magic exists, of course, in an area, maybe 800, where you still have the remnants of a lot of different groups, and yet you also have let's see if we can campaign back here. And you have, essentially a civilized area and a frontier area that you're going to adventure in. Go back to my character sheet. But that's all neither here nor there, because your campaign is going to be different from mine. Your referee is going to set a lot of that. Now, when we talk about starting languages, I gave it a list of example languages in the game. Of course, I want Pharyngian because I am a sea rover, and then I get to pick, what was it, 1 extra? Maybe I'll pick the language of the dead, or the Hunnic, the language of the raiders that used to ravage through this area. But besides those initial skills I also have swaggering techniques, but I don't start with any of them. I start the game at level 0. Let's see if I can get a reminder from my referee here to tell me what I'm supposed to be looking for. And I've handled my traits, I've handled my trills, my skills, my trills. I've handled my skills, I go on to swaggering. Now, swaggering are abilities that are picked up in combat. Now, everyone starts with a magic blade and everyone starts with a magic mount. And slowly over time, through adventuring, that blade and that mount will become more and more fantastic. I also have different abilities in combat. My personal swaggering, where I might learn how to concentrate for my attacks, do a disarming blow, act with ferocity. But the blade could become ingenious, or it could become knightly or lithe. tough word. Or the mount, I could be resolute or talking or winged or carapace. It's becoming more and more dragon-like. And then finally you get to the wizardry. Now wizardry is not spell casting in a freestyle style game. What you do is you start with almost no ability with magic, besides the fact you're carrying that magic blade, that magic mount that you're bringing along. The wizardry is acquired through combat. Pretty much you can take a magical method of attack and see what develops for you. You may find that you have a skill in necromancy. You may find that you can paralyze your victims. You may find that you can use illusions. And as you develop those techniques, then you can use them in a greater role through different task resolution in the game. I guess the goal of any wizard would be to master all 20 of them. In my experience, you may get 10, you may get 12 before you cap out at level 8. You may get more than that if you sort of are constantly looking for the wizardry, although the other people you're playing with might start asking you to use some of that wizardry power rather than seeking new talents and training. Ignobles. So there's no experience in the game. What we use is 9 ignoble deeds. And by performing adventures and going on quests, fighting monsters, involve yourself in intrigue and completing adventures, you're going to be able to check off ignoble deeds. These are listed below. You can read off with me. Adventure, Bard's Tale, Crafty Deed, Prudence. Everything can't just be rushed into combat. Sometimes you have to actually use some strategy. At level 0, almost anything you do could check an ignoble, and you'll go up rather quickly. But by the time you get to level 8, Stellari, it becomes more difficult to check off an ignoble. That same adventure at level 0, where you might just found your first fairy glen, is going to turn into something where it's going to have major impact. Maybe you need to defeat a dragon that's scourging the countryside, or maybe you're going to have to go some of the deepest levels of the underworld. Experience we handled, let's see, we've handled swaggering, languages, level, absolutely. I think we're getting to the end of this tutorial. I'm trying to keep them shorter and just give you an idea what's going on. So once again, you roll a d8, you pick one trait. I picked bowl, I rolled a d8, it allowed me to get energetic and rugged, and then from there I rolled a second d8 to decide what skills I'm going to get. I got 3 within my background and 2 outside my background. I could easily have taken Berserker and Cartographer rather than these 2. It was totally the type of character I wanted to play. Now, a note on the skills, I did mention, for instance, like Briber, that purse of coins becomes more handy to me. There's also, you can see up there, Pickpocket and Hunter, a Bowman and Linguist, a Mariner, Spy. These skills are either on or off, just like the traits. Now, because I'm equestrian, I'm a very fine horse rider. Because I'm not a bowman, I'm not very good firing with a bow. I can certainly fire a bow, I'm just not of any sort of Legolas skill with it. Am I a hunter? Can I shoot a deer and forage for food? Possibly. I may get lucky at it. But certainly by having this skill, the task resolution roll needed to perform it is going to be a lot lower. And the more skills I have, the better I will have the advantage when actually using Q&D attacks. Now you can go to the other videos in this series and find an example of play, and you'll learn how these swaggering come about and how you check, and you'll listen and hear people checking off their nobles as they're playing. But other than that, you can have your character 2 dice rolls, you're ready to play.